And for me, really, it was human design that actually helped me to get into this alignment. And I mean, it's an ongoing journey. It's not like, I've just read about it, I've had a chart and it's done. It's like every day you work with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let me just explain a bit more about what human design. And of course, as you're talking, if there's any questions, then just let me know. I will pause and answer. So human design is actually referred to as a system of differentiation. And I love that because it really shows us how truly unique we all are. And not just in our appearances, but also energetically. Because I don't know of any other system who actually looks at your energetic design. We all know, right? We are energy. But yet, when we use different personality frameworks or when we do certain assessments, the energy is never really taken into consideration. It's normally identifies your strengths, your weaknesses, how maybe you communicate, but that's it. But in fact, your energy determines so much more about you, because some of us actually designed energetically to get up and do work, like generators. We'll talk more about energy types. So I'm one of those people. But actually, it's not just to do even any work, it's the work that inspires and motivates me. And that explains why I had a burnout, or why I spent so many years being completely miserable in my high profile career for so many years. It just did not really align with me. Some people energy types like you're a projector. Projectors, they don't have that constant energy. So they work in sprints, when let's say you may do the same amount of work in 20 minutes as I will do in 2 hours, because when you're energized, when you had time just to get away and to kind of regroup and recompose yourself, you will just be so productive that in those 20 minutes, you can achieve so much more. Other energy type like manifestors, they're here to initiate, to really get things off the ground, to start new things. But only they have that energy to do that. And if, for example, you being a projector, try to start initiating things, you will burn out. And so much conditioning is happening, to us in this world, because we were never told this information. We were told to be the go-getters, to go get done. And only for about 8% of the population, that's the right way of doing things. So
you were working hard in your career, doing kind of what was coming naturally, but you were in the wrong place, you were in the wrong space. So you weren't actually doing what you were meant to be doing.
Yeah, so it wasn't even, the thing is, so for example, for generators, the really important thing is to find the passion. Right. To find something that motivates, that fulfills them. Of course, it's important for everyone, but the generators, because they're energy beings, they're the ones with this like engine within them. So when they get out of bed, they have to use this energy correctly. And they can maybe go like for a run, they can get the kids ready for school, they can go to work, because they constant on a go. And then before they go to sleep, they need to be completely spent out and have the deep sense of satisfaction. So when they do the meaningful work, this is how they basically re-energize themselves. And it doesn't have to be, your job doesn't have to be the best thing ever, but you need to have some sort of kind of a side project, something that recharges you, something you're so passionate about. And personally, what happened to me, I didn't have that. I went to my job, like 9 till 5. I didn't really like it, but it paid so much money that I could not understand how can I not do that. Yeah. And then I came home, and there's kids and there's cooking, and my energy was constantly draining, but nothing was recharging me. Yeah. And that's when I just I quit, actually. And generators known to be quitters, right. Which is interesting because they don't understand that, that they need to really re-energize through that passion, through that joy, through whatever it is, and then just going 9 till 5 and then running after kids, getting everybody sorted. Yes, I have the energy for it, but I don't get anything back. Yeah. While, for example, for projectors, for manifestors, they are not energy beings. So they get recharged from the generators. Right. And you see, so when we're having a conversation, there is a transfer of energy. And after that, you may actually need to go and rest because, you'll be like, whoa, that was too much for me. And understanding that is so important rather than going and well, what shall I be doing now? It's actually a lot of it when it comes to this kind of work, it's actually slowing down, because when we physically slow down, we energetically speed up. And that's when you can literally shave off days, months, years off the work of getting to that next goal, the next career, next whatever it is that you're aiming towards, not by doing more, but by using your energy, by understanding your strategy. And I will talk about it now, and what it means for you. So human design, basically, it's a system of differentiation, or it's also called an empirical system, that was brought out into the world in 1987 by a man called Ra Uru, and it's based on quantum physics, genetics, astrology, Kabbalah. So it's a mixture of science and also some esoteric sciences. I'm just trying to find it, your graph. One sec, I'm going to share it. So basically it provides us with this blueprint. So when you look here, this is your energetic design. This is your roadmap for how you can achieve the highest potential in this life. It shows you your conscious side, and also things that you do unconsciously, because consciously we are aware, right, of things we are doing. And if we don't like something, well, we know we don't like it, so we change it. But unconsciously, we sometimes don't know all of the programs, all of the patterns that we are running. And often these are the things that are tripping us up in our lives, right? Because if you want to grow your business, but you don't think you're worthy of charging money or a client, or you don't think you're worthy of getting certain clients or whatever it is, you probably won't get them, because your subconscious will stop you. And I know there is different modalities of getting over these blocks, but the beauty with human design is that it's right in front of you. So you can initially pinpoint where you're running those patterns, and then use the deconditioning process to break through them and create something new in your life. So when we look at it here, you see all of this centers. There are 9 of them. And if you're familiar with the Hindu, with the chakra systems, they're like loosely correlate to the energy centers. So the white centers, this is how most of us are conditioned, because that's how we take the energy from the others and then we amplify them and we think they're ours. So just to give you a brief example, if you've got an emotional center open, you sometimes may get really, really emotional, because you're picking up emotions from the other people and you're amplifying them. So if you are with somebody who's feeling sad, you will feel that sadness even more than them. Right. And then you will almost, like, why am I feeling that way? Like, where is this coming from? So understanding that those emotions are not even yours and discerning what's not yours can be really powerful, because otherwise you can just get stuck in this. That's when pleasing happens. That's when lack of boundaries can happen. You avoid conflicts, right? And sometimes conflicts are really good to have, because you've got to stand, your ground and speak up. You've got to put the boundaries, so for people to understand what's really not on with you. So with emotional center, often the boundaries is a really difficult thing in avoiding conflicts. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about your profile. So looking at this, I can see that you're a projector. There are 5 different energy types: manifestor, manifesting generator, projector, manifestor, and reflector. So projectors, they make roughly about 20% of population, and they are really here to guide and lead us. They make amazing project leaders, system analysts, because they love systems and they love structures. Whenever I work with projectors, they're normally so organized. They've got all of these boards, on how they're going to create those funnels and what's next. And they really like structures in place. They make amazing coaches. They're really great teachers. Now, there's few things really important to understand for each type. That's every type, you're a projector, you have your own strategy, and strategy is how you navigate through life with less resistance and how you utilize the opportunities that are right for you. So for projector, the strategy is to be invited. Now, what that means is that you are not here to initiate things. For example, you want to work on a project, or you want to work on a summit, you're not really here now to start picking up the phones and start organizing the speakers and sending out the marketing materials. That's more for initiators and for manifestors and manifesting generators. You almost need to be invited into an opportunity. And sometimes it can really feel a big challenge because it requires a lot of trust to just let go. Because as projectors and even generators, we are conditioned that the only way for us to succeed is to initiate and take massive actions and just to get things off the ground. And as I've mentioned, this kind of energy is only correct for manifestors, which interestingly enough are quite opposite. They are so conditioned and they're almost like, I'm too scared to get this off the ground. I will wait for somebody else to do it. But in reality, they're the ones, they're the leaders, they're the starters. And then they will step away. And it's for projectors to be invited into opportunity to lead and then to say, come on, guys, this is how you're going to do this. And it's up to generators then to go and create and build things. So with the projectors, then it's really understanding that the right opportunities that are correct for them will come through invitations. And it doesn't mean that you've got to sit there and do nothing. There's so many things you can do, right? You can do whatever that lights you up. Maybe today it's all about that feeling. Today you want to maybe work on your website. Maybe tomorrow you actually just want to go for a walk. And it's just trusting that. It's trusting, what is it that your body needs? What is it that makes you feel good? And going with it. And not just like avoiding. I'm not saying about that, you've got to avoid things. But even if something doesn't feel good, but you have to get it done, then just trusting it at the right time to get this thing done will come. And your body may go, oh, I really don't feel like doing it, but yes, it's got to be done. So the whole concept really of human design is the deconditioning that teaches us how to get out of our heads and more in tune with our bodies, how to follow our intuition, how to have that inner knowingness, how to trust ourselves more and get out of this, overthinking burnout. So when the opportunity comes to you, and I know I've got a lot of projectors around me, sometimes they're just like too impatient. They feel like they will never be invited. So they'll just take the first one and they'll say yes. And they will be like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? Because you don't have consistent energy. So if you get yourself into the wrong opportunity and it's going to feel like, oh, and now you've committed, and with your open, so this is the heart sensor here, with your open will, you're always trying to prove your self-worth to others. And you can't pull out of it, because now with this, you're avoiding confrontation. And with this, you're like, I've committed, I'm worthy. I'm going to prove my worthiness to myself and everyone else. So for the open heart, it's really then important to understand that they have nothing to prove to anyone. And that's a lot of work that is required to do that. And something, I'm still doing it, because I've got a lot of openness in my charts. And for me, it's always like, yes, I'm worthy. I can do it. If I commit, I'm going to do it. And then I'll push with the energy I don't have in my will center. And then the burnout happens, or I get super frustrated because nothing seems to be going my way, because I'm not following my strategy and I'm not following my authority, which is the inner decision making mechanism. So when then projectors actually get this invitation, and normally it's something big, it's something big it always comes, because in the meantime, your really responsibility is to share. It's to share everything that feels good for you to sharing, because you're so natural at it. And I know actually a projector, she's quite a young lady on Instagram. And literally all she does, she just shares. She does human design. She shares about this, she interviews people. You can see she's in such a flow of life. And she's booked up for years and years ahead. She's a projector. And she also works whenever she feels the energy to do so. And it's honoring your body. It's honoring your energy and trusting that even when you don't work, and redefine actually, what does work mean? When you don't work, that the right support, the right resources, the right people will show up. And they always do, even though your mind screams at you. So we spoke about then your strategy is for you to be invited, to be recognized. So recognition is really important for projectors because they're so wise. They are so, they see they've got that penetrating aura about them. So by penetrating, you know, I mean, they can see others, they can see the depth of the others so much more than the others can see that within themselves. So the natural instinct is like, I'm going to tell you what's good for you. You know, because I know what's good, you should listen. And then people's like, where is this? You know, I don't want to hear that. And there's like, they put up a lot of resistance. And also for projectors, you're not really designed to use your throat, to use your voice, unless you're recognized and invited into this experience. So when you are recognized, when you're invited, that's when you then can share your wisdom, because it's going to be seen and heard by the right people. Otherwise, it's like you're just going to waste your precious voice and burn your thyroid. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention also the importance of understanding authority in human design. So authorities are in a decision-making process, how we make decisions that are true to us. Because we're so conditioned to seek for validation and approval and ask others for opinions when we make decisions, we don't really often really know whose decisions we're making on whose behalf. And that's where we get stuck. You know, we just like, we want to create something new, but we keep on getting the same results over and over. So when it comes into decision-making, human design, we have authority. Every single person will have an authority. It's called an inner authority. And your authority is a splenic authority. So spleen is the center for instinct and intuition. It's like this, it's the oldest survival energy center in our bodies, because we needed it even as cavemen to run away from the bear, because we knew what something is really bad for us. And that's actually called a fear, like a fear center. It holds all of the energies of fears. And there are 1, 2, 3, there's 8, I'm not counting, or 7 fear energies or gates that come out from that. And you actually have the same as mine, and I sometimes really feel them strongly. So with a splenic authority, your decision is in and now, because spleen is, because it's so intuitive, it's this instinctual center, it's like talks to you immediately in and now, which is just before you went live, you mentioned to me, you knew you had to do the something, you know, it felt right and you just did that. And that's exactly how you should be making decisions. Right. And the thing is with spleen, it's there, it's like an impulse. You're like, oh my God, it feels good. And then if you don't act on it, it's gone. And then your mind kicks in and the fears and a doubt comes up. And it often maybe comes to you as a like deep regret. You know, it's like, oh, I should have done that, when you don't listen to it. Yeah. So when that spleen talks to you, because spleen is also responsible for our immune system. And I actually know I used to work with a mentor who was burnt out, she had kidney issues, liver issues, you name it. And when she started doing this work, she literally healed herself by just by following that intuitive instincts from her spleen center. So, but not everybody's obviously designed like that, you know. It doesn't mean that everybody's now needs to make decisions in the now. Most of us, but some of us, no, you know, some people actually need up to 30 days to make a decision. They're rare, but they do. But in your case, it's all about in and now. It's all about waiting to be invited to share your words, to share your wisdom. And I know a lot of successful projectors. And initially when, you know, you start doing the work, it just, your mind screams at you. It literally blows your mind. It's not easy. But when you stick to it, it's like you just get into that flow of life. Everything just starts clicking and you get in total alignments between this conscious part and unconscious part of your design. So yes, does it resonate?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because, you know, I've been working on a project which is very dear to my heart and very much, you know, it's a bit like you're saying, you know, I know that I can help people. I know that I can change people in that work in Shapeshifters. And I am working with some people, but the people that I'm most working successfully with are definitely people who have asked me, you know, they actually recognize in themselves first the need to change those things. And you immediately get this kind of, you know, alignment with them, and you just know that you can help them because they're actually saying, I need that help. Whereas the people who there are many other people I'll be like, I know that you can change, or I know that I can help you, but they aren't asking for it. So I feel like I'm hitting against a brick wall like this. And I've been working really hard on it. But now what I'm doing at the moment is just, it's like people have been saying to me, but I don't know where to go. I need this help and I don't know where to go. And it's like, and I'm sitting there thinking, I can help with that. But they've asked me, you know, just what you're saying. And it's kind of lit something inside of me that is just, I'm just so excited about. And it's just like, I feel like there's been this space here waiting for me to sort of jump into it. But if I had forced my way into it, then I would definitely not be getting the same reaction from people. I'm sure of that. And I would be getting frustrated by not getting that reaction. So yeah, I mean, a lot of what you're saying, you're describing me.
Yeah, and I mean, for Projector, the not self theme, like when you live out of alignment, when you're coming up against those brick walls, it's disappointment. So for generators, it's frustration. For manifestors, it's anger. For projectors, it's disappointment. While the other side is success. So when you're feeling this feeling of disappointment, you know you're not living according to your strategy. You're not making decisions according to your authority. And yeah, it all comes to waiting to be invited, because it becomes a lot more powerful. And you don't come up against brick walls, you know, because as I said, projectors are here, the leaders and the guides, and they've got a lot of wisdom, but others just won't hear them. They won't recognize you. So that's why it's so important to keep on sharing, you know, putting up more posts, if, you know, going live, whatever it is that excites you, then doing that. And being in the right place is extremely important for you, in the right location with the right people. It's really, really important for you. Yeah.
Yes, no, it's so what about things like, I mean, first of all, for people who are watching, what do you need to know about the person that you're talking to find out kind of who they are?
So it takes date, time and place of birth, and then based on that it creates the chart. And obviously every single chart is unique, unless you're like identical twins, then you'll probably have similar charts. But still, you know, I mean, you live out high expression or low expression of each area of your life. You know, for example, like with your head, with your consistent energy to your head, with a defined head, you got a lot of creative ideas. You know, when you were sharing with me what you guys are doing behind the scenes, you can see you've got a lot of ideas, lots of creativity, lots of, you know, lots of different things that you want to work on, which is great. But if somebody doesn't have a consistent energy to the head, so if this was open like mine, I need to go look for inspiration and look for ideas. I don't really have a consistent way of thinking. Like my mind is very fluid. And I used to beat up myself for so many years thinking, why am I changing my mind? Or why can't I just come up with something creative? Or why am I under so much freaking pressure to appear to be clever and to think and to, you know, to speak out my beliefs and opinions? And I could never do that. It was such a struggle for me. Like, I'll be like, yeah, I'm pretending to be certain, but actually I had no clue. And I literally thought something is broken in my brain. And now, you know, like seeing that, I'm like, I'm not really meant to. Like if I'm with my mom, for example, she'll tell me something. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Next day I'm with someone else and they'll tell me something different on the topic. I'm like, yeah. And then actually what happens now, I start forming my own ideas about it. You know, I'll take whatever feels right to me and I will make up my own minds. And it might be like completely, totally wacky that like nobody thought of and people think it's weird, but it's mine, you know, rather than me trying to pretend to be certain or like, and act pretending I'm certain. So now I can say like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And I feel comfortable with it. Yeah. But it took me so much work, you know. I mean, I remember I had a mentor and she's like, I'd be like messaging her. And she says, Lena, you in your head again. It's like, where's your sacral? So sacral for generators, this is the most important energy for me. She'd go for a walk, you know, like which kind of work are you doing to decondition? Have a pleasure day, have a desire day. Just let that energy to flow through you. Because when we're stuck in our head, we chopped off from our bodies. And this is where a lot of the wisdom lies.
So yes, I mean, one of the things you just that you mentioned as well there, you talked about, being invited, and you were talking about how you can, somebody like me might feel I've been invited into various different things, and I've ended up agreeing to do those things. And then I'm looking for, sort of success in those things, or to be validated by those things. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing at the moment, is because I have been in that place. And I've seen lots of other people in that place too, where you almost feel guilty if you don't accept the invitation. But knowing that actually that part of my personality is needing that invitation says to me, just be a bit careful, because you will find yourself being invited to do all sorts of things, and they might not actually be the thing that you are supposed to be doing. You've got to really understand what you need to be invited to do. Almost that's what it says to me.
Exactly. And you've got a conundrum in your chart almost, because you're very logical. It's a lot of how and whys. But then yet you've got also an intuitive gate, which is gate 57, which is actually in your life purpose. And that's all about clear, the intuitiveness. It's actually called the most intuitive gates in a whole chart. I've got the same thing in my South node. So that actually, you are here designed to know, to have that inner knowingness within you. And that's really, really hard, because your head is so defined. You've got this gate of logic, gate of how, wanting to know how things play out. And on the other side, you've got this intuition, and it's like how to blend those two of them together. And that's the challenge. You can't just decide from your head, so when you're being invited into all these opportunities, it's trusting you within you to find the right answers. And that's the whole work for human design. It's not just to kind of read the chart and say, okay, well, I need to wait for invitation, and that's great. It's actually, how do I live it? How do I make it practical? How do I know when this opportunity is right for me? How do I know which next step to take, and when to say no without having the fear that nothing else comes into my life? How do I tap into that inner knowingness? But it's all within us, it's all within us.
Yeah. Fascinating. No, it is fascinating. So somebody else that's watching this, or I might just check actually if I'm phoning a sec, just to see. They might have a question on there. But somebody who's watching this, I know you've got a workshop coming up, haven't you?
Yes, this Saturday. I actually called it Work Less, Achieve More. And we're going to go deeper into different energy types, and actually what does it mean for us when it comes in terms to work, to making decisions, because I think it's changing, right? There is a big shift now in our consciousness, where we know that working hard is not the answer to everything. And I've seen it in my own life, when I was doing 12, 14 hours days, working, literally outreaching, communicating on the phone, permanent discovery calls, networking events, how it is compared to now, where it's a lot more flexible. And when I make decisions now, I don't force them, so it wasn't I remember my days where I'd sit in front of the laptop, right, I've got to create a social media post, what shall I write about? And you start, and then halfway through you get so disconnected with it, nothing is going, and then I sit and I'll push until 10 o'clock at night, and realizing that this was not the creative energy that I was expressing, and therefore, the results, what do you think I was getting in return? Because that was the energy of sacrifice. I was sacrificing my energy, my time with my kids, with my family, trying to come up with things that did not align. And this deconditioning work has really helped me to learn how to step away, how to trust myself, how to get this inspiration, this intuitions to come to me. And instead of spending 8-10 hours, maybe spend 1 hour and get a lot better results. And that's why, I was so conditioned, work more, work harder, to take action, be a doer. That's what I've been my whole life. And this helped me so much. That's why I wanted to actually run a workshop on that, just to introduce people to what's truly possible.
Yeah, because I think for myself, I've got a real faith, and I know that I'm a created being, that I'm unique, that no two people are the same. But using this kind of system to understand yourself better, you also are making it more possible I think, to working with other people and to kind of finding those people that, well, like that jigsaw puzzle that comes together where you're actually helping each other to give your very best, which you perhaps can't do on your own because there's maybe something that just isn't something that you should be doing, whereas somebody else, you know, might be the person that should be doing that. You can actually both support and help each other to, I think, to end the day feeling at peace because you've actually lived the way that you're supposed to live and they've lived the way that they're supposed to live, rather than sort of killing yourself doing stuff that just isn't there for you to do, really.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, my passion really is to bring it into corporate world, you know, to work on the team dynamics, because I think it can really help position people in the right places with the right managers in the right locations. And also, you know, like when it comes to recruitment, right? If you're recruiting somebody to lay bricks 9 till 5 and you get a, let's say, a projector or reflector, they will literally burn out. They just do not have the energy to do that. Also, you know, for leadership, communication is massive because, I mean, we didn't even touch on these numbers because that's all about, you know, how you communicate with others, what you need in place to feel grounded and supported. How do you express yourself with the world? When we look at all of the centers here, you know, it's like it shows us your natural gifts, your natural talents and areas of vulnerabilities. And so many business owners, they run a business or they create offers based on the areas of weakness or vulnerabilities. There's never really weakness. It's more just the openness is where we're conditioned the most. Right. So let's say if like we've got an emotional solar plexus open, right? So our energy, they're various, depending who we're with, depending on a planet in transits. So for me to go and teach like a course on emotional intelligence, it's probably not my strongest points. But I have a defined G center, which is all about identity, direction, love. So that's my strength, you know, and I do have that very strongly within me. You know, for you, for example, it's about the roots, you're grounded, the timing. So you can even teach, let's say, about being, you know, grounded in law with divine timing. So, you know, or you can also, you know, really help others with ideas, with inspiration. While I don't have the consistent ideas and inspiration. So if I created a course on creative thinking, I'd have no idea, you know, or it will be harder for me. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So understanding all of these pieces of the puzzle and also all of the, I mean, for me, also the biggest thing really was the fear that started coming up, I think, as an entrepreneur, because stepping from a 9 till 5 and growing my business, where just like things just went gelling, there was so much fear. And when I looked at my design and I looked especially at the planetary alignments, I was like, oh, no wonder I'm feeling it so strong. But it kind of makes you, you know, you're not broken. It gives you strategy to cope with, you know, with any challenges that are on your way.
Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned about was that being in that situation where you're feeling what the other person's feeling, and sometimes even more than they're feeling it. And that's absolutely true. It's down to a T, you know, and one of my sons is the same. And it's a physical feeling, you know, and some people, when you talk about it, there are people who are like, what are you talking about? They don't understand what you're saying, but you feel it, you actually, yeah. And it can be really draining if you don't understand what's going on there. But at the same time, it's so empowering as well, because you'll find yourself talking to somebody and they're just telling you stuff, and they're there saying, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Why have I started talking about that? You know, and then you're sitting there thinking, well, I know why, because there's something that's connected, the empathy, the you just understand exactly where they're coming from. You find yourself saying something and you thinking, I don't know why I'm saying that, you know, but it's very powerful, but used incorrectly, that could be very manipulative. But you know, when it's used actually as it should be used, it's very empowering and very moving for the person who's opening up to you, because they don't feel alone anymore.
Exactly. It's interesting what you say about people telling you, well, like telling you stuff. There's actually a gate of telling. My son's got it. And when it's activated, it's like I normally share with them like my work or my frustration. I'm like, well, he's only 14. And I'm like, oh, he's got his gate of telling. So obviously I'm activating him, you know, and he does. Like people can really come and offload in him. And I actually said, Jesse, I said, you have to protect your energy, because I said, you're ready to help and to listen to everyone. When we looked at each other, got a gate of telling. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, fascinating. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it? And I just think, as I say, there's so many different thoughts on sort of spirituality, and as I say, I've got a very deep personal Christian faith, and I'm just going to say this because I think some people might feel uncomfortable, but for me, we are all individual, unique people that have been created, and we're not supposed to be the same as somebody else. We're not supposed to be identical, even like you said, identical twins. They might be very alike, but there will be something about them somewhere that's unique. And to me, understanding yourself and how you're supposed to work and what can really help you to fulfill your purpose and in a way that keeps you safe. To me, that's very, very empowering. And I'm fascinated, find it very encouraging as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, if more people understand it, especially when it comes to communication, I think it can save, a lot of families, a lot of relationships. I just think it's a really powerful tool, no matter what you want to use it for, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there is a workshop. I think I started telling that I got distracted on Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time. So it's 2 hours. And we go a lot deeper into different energy types, also into authorities, so how we are uniquely designed to make decisions and get into that state of alignment and flow, where things just don't feel so damn hard anymore. How do we find actually ease in everyday's life? So I think it's going to be, it's 2 hours. You can come live or get a recording if you're interested to go deeper into this.
And is the link, will you put the link in this particular feed as well for people?
Yeah, I can put a link to register. Yeah, it's $47, and I'll pop a link in a video underneath.
Yeah. And if somebody comes to that and maybe they want to work a bit more with you, will they have the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I mean, they can reach out because I do coaching. As I said, this is great information, but without coaching, I think it's something, you go like to a seminar, you meditate, you're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, and you never meditate again. It's like the same thing. So I do coaching and also reading. I love giving readings because I just think it's so powerful. So absolutely, they can reach out if they've got more questions for me.
Perfect. No, I think anything like that within this group, so just to encourage anybody else that's watching this, if you've got something that you want to share with us, you want to talk about, you want to make available to other people, just talk to me and Phil, and we'll make sure that it happens. Because that's all that Lena did. She just said, would you fancy coming on a live with me? And we're more than happy to do that. So please just ask.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, I will see you on Saturday, but I'll see you in the group probably before anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thanks, Angela.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye.
Just goes on here. There you go.
Cool. Yeah.
It's what it's definitely what we love doing. I don't know, I'll be interested. Phil's coming on Saturday because I suggested to. And I think for him, I'm going to stop recording it. Just recording as well.